So we start the episode with the 5 Boonboomgers racing in that cosmic highway, practicing to use their newly found mecha in preparation for the Desire Grand Prix. This is the perfect way to start an episode that introduces a new member, because in this training montage, not only do we see how much more proficient the Boonboomgers are as drivers, as Mira decides to drive like I do after drinking a purple C4 and wanting to get a little freaky. Driving under the influence of any kind is not funny, but I don't imagine that any of this would fly in a legitimate F1 race. But we also see how far they've come as a team, given their banter showing a greater sense of camaraderie. This is interrupted by the ISP lady calling. She explains to the Boonboomgers that an unidentified flying object has entered Earth's atmosphere, and it quite literally blows past the entire team as she's doing this. And if you couldn't tell by the silhouette, and the fact that it's literally purple, this is going to be Boon Violet's mecha. And given his role as a sort of rival for the team at this point in the series, the fact that he's able to outpace the entire cranked up Sentai without even knowing that he's competing against them is a great way to show that difference in skill. The team is recovering from the sonic boom they witnessed, and as unsurprising as it may sound, Egoraptor was far more dramatic about it than they are.
I don't know!
This man has done irreversible damage to the Sonic franchise, and I cannot continue to stay quiet about this. We discover that the light wave emitted from the UFO matches the purple race car from earlier. I'm surprised that they felt the need to clarify that, because I sort of feel like it's kind of obvious. And they don't even bother to touch on the fact that Taya still hasn't changed his clothes. He's the only team member who doesn't. He has to stink. It's been at least 18 weeks of him wearing this exact same leather jacket. Dog, it stinks. Bundario explains that the waveform is the Boom Boom signal, the same signal emitted from their changers, as well as the Boom Boom cars and nearly everything Bundario develops, which draws the question of why is the UFO emitting the signal, as well as what type of occasion is Joe dressed for. Ignoring the whack fit, this might be the first time we've ever seen him in a casual button-up. He does wear one as a cop, but that's a long sleeve in a more formal setting. We've never seen him pair one with his overalls. Could he have a date lined up? Or perhaps it's poker night with the boys. This is another question that the show refuses to answer. We then cut to Boon Violet, spread eagle for the city, and I'm not just talking about those sweet hams, it's the suit. We're just casually going to drop it without a proper transformation? I'm sorry, but this just feels underwhelming. Like in my mind, it's always best to introduce the actor before the suit, because the reveal of the suit is way cooler than revealing that it's just some dude. Unless some dude is someone that we've seen before in the past, in which case it's not just some dude, it's Tony from the corner store. Also, I'm just now discovering that they're not the same shade of purple, and this really frustrates me. We discover that the two are a team of cosmic delivery men, which makes them cooler than the proper Boonboomgers because they're from space. And they also happen to be visiting Earth, which is also Boon Violet's home planet, which means he's not from space. He detects the Boom Boom signal on, spoilers, what is supposed to be his changer, and I'm sorry, alright, I understand that this is supposed to model how F1 steering wheels look in the real world with all the switches and knobs and stuff. Shout out to Vaughn for teaching me that on Twitter. But I can't help looking at this and seeing one of those Play School Fisher-Price fake video game controller things, which is especially annoying here because I feel like Boonboomger has struck this nice balance so far of having weapons that make for fun toys while also not really looking a lot like toys. It's been a pet peeve of mine in these shows when these weapons look too much like toys, but I also think that it's important for these weapons to look cool enough or have a gimmick that makes them stand out because they are supposed to be fun. I get it, they are toys, but sometimes it just messes with the realism, if it ever really existed to begin with. Not to mention the other boomers have such cute little changers compared to Homeboy's chunky piece of shit. Call me Brevin, because I don't know how he sticks this in his pocket. We also see Joe run into a man wearing purple in the park, which is not the same shade as Boon Violet, so we can't be sure that it's him yet. But real talk, he's dressed like a Kingdom Hearts character, and I honestly can't tell if I love it or I really hate that. He also runs into some other Boonboomgers and engages in some passive-aggressive racing-themed shit-talking, which culminates in him trying to do the same thing with Taya, but it's too late because Taya is unbothered like Marvin's Room Drake, whereas Homeboy pretends to be unbothered like Family Matters Drake. He reveals his name to be Himura Sakito, and Bundario is shocked to see him holding the Boom Boom controller, and it's surprising to him because he claims to have thrown it out after the Bang Bang Shooting Grand Prix, and could have donated that thing. Sure, there's a space toddler out there that would have loved to have stared at this for 8 hours a day, right? Never mind the fact that it's a gun, just don't give him any bullets. That's how gun safety works, right? We also discover the alleged Homura has been missing for 10 years. Boon Violet rolls up with his package and this box for the Hasheliens with his robot partner, who's named Byun Diesel. Bundario Bundera, Byun Diesel. I personally am waiting for Gary Colbune. We discover to be a Boon Blue Knight sword repaint, and they turn into a monster. The Boonboomgers confront the sword monster, and can I just say I love how creative they are with using the wheels on their bodies to do different things. I'm happy to see that this is still a part of the season and not something that they just threw away after episode 1. Homura steps in and decides to start gaming, which prompts him to transform into Boon Violet, which is news to me because I really thought this fool was just a cosplaying sweat with a Steam Deck. Speaking of Boon Violet's suit, I like that it's violet. I'm just happy to see that Sentai's over having gold and silver 6 Rangers, so literally any other color at this point is like a huge win for me. I'm just shocked that we got 2 in a row like this, to be honest. His suit is doing a little too much, but I feel like it'll grow on me, so I don't want to say anything like too strongly yet. The fight between him and the monster is pretty cool. There's a ton of special effects, which I feel like would annoy some people, but they're really good here. After the battle, Sakito and Byun D ask to meet Bundario, and we discover that the two were rivals racing on the same team during the Big Bang Theory finale. The very next episode begins with the team at a bar owned by Taya. Everyone seems to be wearing new formal clothes except him. What the fuck? Violet and D pull up to the function and are told that Bundario does not want to see them. This prompts Sakito to pull out the Tuli, which leads to the coolest moment in the entire show.
Bundario Bundera は会いたくないそうだ。それはね。
Literally, this may go down as my favorite moment in the entirety of Boonboomger. Taya doesn't even have to do nothing. Everyone is just ready to throw down at like a moment's notice. I love this. This is just sick, all right? The Hasheliens have this gym monster they plan to use this episode or whatever, and is that the washer machine guy from Blazar? Dude, that's the fool who talked to a washer machine in Blazar. This is sick. Byun D explains to the team how him and Dario were racing for the same team during the Shushu Bang Bang Gekijo Bang Grand Prix. The two were rivals as D was always faster than Dario, which is actually why Bundario made the Boom Boom controller, specifically to outspeed him, which means it's not only a gun, but also a performance enhancing drug. And then Bundario wants to act surprised about the fact that he was banned from racing. The team rolls out to deal with the Hasheliens as Taya stays behind to press Sakito further. They reveal that the Boonboomgers were the original name for D and Bundario's team in the Backshot Grand Prix. The two actually had a disagreement over this, as Byun D wanted to be called the Boonboomgers, which does not roll off the tongue as easy. They left the decision of the name up to a race, and Bundario claims that to be his only win against Byun D. Byun D also explains that he wants to check up on Bundario because he believed that he was dead after randomly disappearing when he lost his license to race in the Jujubee. I'm not gonna lie, Bundario is a really fun character to have around in this show, and I was worried that adding another dude just like him would either take away from how fun Bundario is, or Bundario would just like outright outshine this guy. But I think it's cool that they're tying their backstories together. So I think it'll work out. It's cool. Taya politely decides to dip in order to help his fellow Boonboomgers, as the Hasheliens are forcing people to curl this barbell, which they're unable to do because they'll never be as jacked as Vaughn. Bruh. That's 2 mentions in 1 episode. You're done for the year. Sakito tells Taya that he hates his attitude about wanting to save people so badly, and Taya fully keeps his composure and tells him that everyone normally does. Taya's a really good red, all right? He may stink, but he has some really great moments. Taya pulls up with a creative henshin sequence. I love that kind of like the Bokengers, they're still finding creative things to do with the spinning wheels on these things. But Sakito follows shortly after and asks them to hire him as he transforms, calling himself the Cleaner. And it's tough as hell because he claims that that's the service he'll be offering to the team. And they like to act like they don't want it, but he clears the monster in like seconds, and it's really badass. Also, they added this thing to the little car guy from earlier. I forgot to mention it, and I also forgot his name. But they did this thing to him that made it so that they're able to skip the CGI racing scenes. I guess they had to write it out of the show. On the one hand, I'm a little upset because like I really enjoyed that part of Boonboomger, but also I'm surprised that we were able to have it around for 18 episodes, period. So I guess the fact that it lasted this long is kind of a win. They summon Boonboomger Robo, and Boon Violet pulls up in Byun D, and I'm not gonna lie, I really like his mecha. I can't really put a finger on why I like it. Like, the way it transforms with Byun D just sitting down is kind of cool, but it also kind of feels lazy. I love that they do that and are still able to create the race car silhouette, but it also really doesn't look like a race car at all from some angles. I also love the fact that Byun D is steering the car, but again, it looks more like him just sitting down, but that also draws this imagery of those stock car races. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I love this thing, but I really do not know why, and I literally think it might just be because it's purple. Byun D pops a tire racing on this giant treadmill, and Bundario taps in to swap it out for him, which allows him to perform the finishing move. After the battle, Sakito asks Byun D if he still wants to talk to Bundario, and D explains that he understands everything after the tire change, so they're cool. But the episode ends with the two getting a call from the Hasheliens. At the same time, Ishiro comes in the room with more information on Sakito. And this is where I was going to end the video if it came out last week, but then I realized we were like finishing it on a cliffhanger, and also he officially joins the team in this next episode, so I was like, why do we stop here? It would make more sense to do the full 3 episodes, I guess. Like, technically last week's video was supposed to come out this week, and vice versa. I really wasn't expecting to put that out as soon as I did, so hopefully it didn't come out super rushed, but I'm sure you'll tell me. This is also going to be rushed, by the way, because I didn't realize that I would be throwing up this week. I had a work function where I was around kids, and, you know, as shocking as this may seem for a YouTuber, I don't typically hang out with kids, and I'm pretty sure they gave me like a stomach bug. Anyways, you know the drill. If you're this deep, please feel free to like the video. I really appreciate it. And ask more questions for the Q&A coming up. It's still coming. I see people asking questions, and I love the fact that people are asking questions. I want more people to ask more questions because I really want this to be a long video. And also feel free to like not make it Toku related. I see a lot of them are Toku related, and that's cool. You can leave them Toku related. I guess it really don't matter. But if you don't want to ask a Toku related question, you can ask whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Back at the Hondo mansion, we piece together how Sakito Homura must have been 10 years old when he left Earth. Turns out he was an orphan. At the same time we discover this, we see him making a deal with the Hasheliens as they hire him to take care of the Boonboomgers. Sakito claims that unlike my taxes, he doesn't come cheap, and he's still not in the intro? What else does bro have to do? We cut back to the Hasheliens tossing around this card of a race car driver, and this seems to spark a reaction out of Sakito. He's a trigger-happy son of a bitch, alright? Just like any given moment, he's just dying to shoot someone. Who gave him a gun? I almost trusted with the child more, actually. But Byun D calms him down by explaining that starting beef with the Hasheliens will give them issues with other jobs they take throughout the galaxy, which is kind of fun world building because you really forget how much turf they must have, being this like giant space mafia, considering how much these 3 skibbity betas, El Riz, level 0 Gaiats. Y'all thought I didn't know those words, huh? He agrees to take the job as long as they give him the card back. They make another sword monster, and I really just feel like they didn't want to make another suit. Boon Violet attempts to get Bun Red while he's investigating Sakito's disappearance, prompting the other Boonboomgers to take over as the two fight. We discover that Byun D found Sakito as a child. Taya explains that he basically already knew Sakito's backstory and that he understands that he's hurting. Sakito is unable to deal with reliving the trauma, but Taya explains his need to make people happy. His exact words were that he turned screams into smiles. Sakito laments that no one heard his screams when he was an orphan child on Earth, which is an incredible line and is actually really hard to joke about. It's a great line for the episode. I didn't even think I'd like Sakito this much until literally this point in the video, to be honest. Taya talking about hearing screams kind of ties back into the boom boom signal, since they both have like this sound wave motif, I guess. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. And Sakito explains again that he hates Taya's need to help people as he releases his arrow that he drew back into the air. And I wish I could take this moment seriously if this didn't look like a fucking GameCube. Anyways, the Hasheliens pull up and some bullshit occurs, and Gemba is able to procure or like pickpocket the Hasheliens for the card back. I realized I didn't explain the importance of the card I guess it's a gift from one of his only friends he had on Earth as a child, but now with this in hand, he quits the job with the Hasheliens and the Boonboomgers hire him as a cleaner, so now he's officially a part of the team. And I would argue that the Six Rangers' first transformation sequence as a proper team member, or like their first time in a roll call with the rest of the team, is just as important as their introductory transformation sequence. And I would have to say that this is actually done incredibly well because of the build-up and emotional journey that we had to go through in order to get to this point of him joining the team. And now that I see the Boon Violet suit standing next to the rest of the team, I realize why I don't like it. And it's either because the other suits don't have enough color, or this is just too damn purple. The other suits look bland standing next to him, and he just sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the team. It ruins the flow of the entire team composition, which sucks because I was one of the few people who genuinely loved the Boonboomger suits. And I mean, like, these were gonna be in my top 5 suits of all time. I genuinely love the core 5 standing next to each other. Anyways, they do the fight and a mech battle, and there's some CGI or whatever. Who cares, man? All right. Byun D and Bundario reunite as Sakito reunites with his friend from Earth, who, much like Byun D, missed his friend after his disappearance because he thought he died. And I really want to hold on to this shot for a minute because, like I said, it's still kind of early, but this team has come so far, and I love seeing shots of them standing next to each other like this. All in all, I really like Sakito a lot more than I was expecting to. Obviously, I really like the core Boonboomgers. And to be honest, I would have been fine if this season didn't even have a Sixth Ranger, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but like, I really enjoy this cast. Thankfully, Sakito and Byun D seem cool. I feel like they both stand out and add a new dynamic without completely dismantling the entire show. I think the suit definitely still needs to grow on me a little bit more, but outside of that, I love this cast, and if Boonboomger keeps this quality up, it's going to be in my top 10 Sentai of all time. I'm not even kidding. Here's a video of me reacting to the scans of last year's Sixth Ranger, and hopefully I'll see you next week.